Amy, how you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. I must say,
I know what you're going to say.
you know what I'm going to say.
I know.
You are now the record holder
No, stop.
for replying to a message that I sent in January.
No, stop. This is probably actually one of the recurring themes that I have a problem with that I'm definitely going to try and work on. Me replying back to messages is one of, I don't know why. I seen actually something today and it was like a Gemini. It was like if you're a Gemini and you either reply back to a message in 3 seconds or
Right.
like 5 working days.
Right.
And I'm like, yeah, that's me, except like add on 5 months or something like that. So I apologise. I've been dying to do it, but I feel like this year's been such a weird year for me, probably one of the hardest years. I find that actually it's probably more tough than COVID.
Right.
In terms of business, health, like all of these things. And I don't know, I think when you'd asked me originally to do it, I was really keen and I think something came up. And then this year I've been all over the place. And then it got towards the end of the year kind of time I was like, I've got free time now.
Yeah.
I really want to do it. So here I am.
We got there in the end.
We did.
But actually, see, when I looked at it, it never even showed my original message. And I was like,
Oh God.
when did I send that?
No, stop.
But
I'm sorry.
we still managed to get it in before
We did.
2023.
No,
so
that was the goal. So we
take-
did it.
We'll take the positives.
We did do it.
As you said, mad year for you. For anybody that doesn't know, what is Body by Amy? How did it all start?
So Body by Amy started on a total whim,
Right.
by accident.
Right.
Didn't intend for it to happen. Don't know how it happened. It basically started, if I was to go right back to the start, I was working in loads of jobs. Like I did like loads of, like I worked in Topshop, I worked in a jeweller's and stuff like that. And I just wasn't fulfilled. Like I
Right.
wasn't fulfilled and I felt like really depressed going to work.
Yeah.
And I know that's probably the case for a lot of people. And then I think at one point I'd started going to a gym, and I kind of walking on the treadmill. Like I think every beginner will know, if you've never been to a gym before, the first thing you'll probably do is go on a treadmill,
Yeah.
walk about, look at everyone, and
Yeah.
be like, I wish I could do that. I wish I could do that. But you've not got the confidence to go and do it because you've not been taught how to do it.
Yep.
So I did that for a long time, and then I got a PT, and then I started training. I was leaving. I was going, God, I feel great, like mentally, like, and I realized it was kind of like a medicine for me. So fast forward on, I then ended up getting a job in a gym. They trained me up to become a personal trainer.
Right.
A fitness instructor. Then I became a personal trainer. And alongside that, I was doing classes there. I was then running boot camp type classes in like an old nightclub. Now that was like, I was working crazy hours. Like I was going and doing like spin and stuff like that, 6 in, then working right through the gym, like doing PT and stuff.
Yeah.
Then I'd walk to the West End, do my PT clients, then a boot camp, and it was honestly wild. I don't know how see now I'm like, you're mental. I do not know how you did it, but I feel like I did that, and that's how I ended up where I am now. You know, you work your arse off so much to get to a point. So then I ended up taking classes and stuff in Viper, which it was at the time, and I think basically how I kind of expanded was, both my parents are profoundly deaf, and I was training my dad in Viper at the time, and we were just like playing about, and I think people have heard this story loads of times because I have spoke about it a lot. And I was playing about with the lights, and I was like, oh, my dad was standing on like the kind of, I say it's not a gym floor, it was the nightclub floor.
Yeah.
And I like started playing red and green, and my dad was like looking at me, and I was like, oh my God, this could be like a really good idea to like indicate when to start and when to stop for people that can't hear.
Yeah.
So that's how that started. And I'd like kind of started training my dad, and then I went, I might try and do classes for deaf people. And then that became a thing.
Right.
And then it kind of got on the news and stuff like that. And then, I don't know, then I just started running like classes every week for deaf people alongside like my normal classes and PT clients. And then very quickly after that, the boys were like, right, we're changing this into something else. So you need to go and find something. I was like, no, I cannot go and run my own business. Are you off your head? Anyway, like my partner's so supportive and he was like, you can do it. Of course you can do it. So before I knew it, I had a unit. I was like, I've not been to uni. I did like a HND at college, which it was like nothing to do with what I'm doing. So it was very nerve-wracking. And for somebody like me who, like when I went to like a private school, but I always felt a wee bit like I didn't particularly fit in because, you know, I didn't come from loads of money. And I always felt like I had to work that wee bit harder. So yeah, I think going from that, like feeling that way about myself to then ended up having my own business, I was like, oh shit, like I really need to start knuckling down and know what I'm doing. So I'd got the keys for that specific unit in July before COVID. And I never actually got into it until November, December before COVID. So that was the December, say. And then COVID hit 3 months later after I'd opened my gym. I was like, all right, of course. Great. Of course that's going to happen. So anyway, I'd like started doing my classes and all that in there and it was great. And to be honest, during COVID, it was a horrific time, obviously. But, you know, I tried to move all my stuff online, doing classes, like, you know, everyone was jumping about their living rooms and stuff like that. But I got a lot of good opportunities in that kind of time as well. I
was going to ask you that. Like, do you think, and it sounds ridiculous saying this, and I don't mean it in the context of how it would sound, but was COVID good for you in that sense? Because people then moved to online classes and things and it allowed you to build a wee bit?
Yeah, at that point it did, because I was doing stuff for like a deaf football team. That was difficult because I wasn't there. I couldn't use my lighting system and it was a lot of like trying to like wave and stuff. So that was something that I was really, really conscious of and I really wanted to focus on trying to work out a system, how we can make that better, which is something I'm doing in 2023 with a deaf charity where we're going to film workouts and things like that. So I'm excited about that. But I feel like during COVID, for example, I got asked to go to Gymshark. Now, for me, that was the most, like, I remember getting that email because I'd basically been doing online stuff for Gymshark. And I got this email and I can't explain to you. I actually think I seen it pop up during one of my online classes. And I actually was like, no, you need to remember you're on camera. So I did the gym class and I came off and I burst out crying. And I was like, no, wait, why would they ask me? Why? I just couldn't get my head around it. And then obviously I was like, yep, absolutely. So like, I can't really remember the time frame of when this was because COVID, I think, was just a blurred 2 years.
100%.
And I went down to their headquarters, got there, and I think about the adrenaline was like running through me and all that. And I was like buzzing about doing it. But it was so hard, like, because you were filming in a quiet room, no music, nothing. And you had like a full team of people watching you burst out a workout. But at the same time, I was doing sign language.
Okay.
So there was a lot of like, I don't know, I think because it was so quiet, I was really getting into my head a lot. It then turns out afterwards, we drove back up. It was down in Birmingham, I think, right near there. On the way back up home, I started to feel really unwell. And I was like, oh God. I was like, I started getting a temperature and all that. I had COVID.
Oh, man.
I, to this day, cannot watch the videos that I was on the Gymshark app because I knew when I was performing, I was like not feeling great. And it only hit me like at that point. And I think like everyone was like, oh my God, that's amazing, blah, blah, blah. And of course, what an opportunity. For someone like me that's not been in the industry that long, that was like an incredible opportunity for me. But I've still not watched, I can't watch it.
Just because you associate it with it?
I associate it with me feeling like shit. Like me being in my head so much at that point. But that's like an recurring theme for me. So I really get in my own head a lot about...
You quite self-critical then?
I think if you asked anyone, they would say yes.
Yeah?
I really struggle with it.
Even though, obviously, and we'll get into like the business and things, even you've got a successful business, you've done all these other things, do you still sit and kind of doubt yourself on?
Oh my God. Every day.
That's mental.
I can't get out of it, and that is something like I've decided after this year's been a bit of a crap year. Like next year, I really want to like concentrate and focus on like my health, like working on my like confidence, because like when I'm in a class and when I'm teaching, I'm absolutely fine.
Yeah.
It's down to like things like Instagram I struggle with massively.
Yeah.
I went through a massive part of like really like getting my posting, Then it became like a chore.
Yeah.
Then you'd look into like, you'd sit and write out a massive caption, and I would like I'd look over it for about a day before I'd post it.
Yeah.
And then I just go, oh, there's no point. And I feel like I'm an overthinker.
Right.
Like,
Okay.
to put it bluntly, that is it. I'm an overthinker, so that's probably where I struggle, and I think I suffer massively from imposter syndrome. And I think it's because it's probably just stemmed from my school life, going into a business with no business plan, no business degree, nothing, making loads of mistakes, and then kind of being at a position where I'm like, oh God, where do I go from here?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that is something I need to work on.
What do you think, and it could have been from this year or previous, from when you started the business, what's the biggest kind of learning you've taken? What's the thing that's kind of, you've sat and went, shit, man, I wish I'd knew that beforehand?
God.
Because you're saying mistakes, but even if you went to uni and all that, people would still make mistakes.
I know.
That.
Yeah, and I think, do you know what? Like, I'm saying that, like, I'm actually grateful that I've had those kind of times where, like my partner will say that to me all the time, like, you need to make mistakes because you're never going to grow, you're never going to learn. And I've now had to start to get comfortable being uncomfortable. Yeah. Because you're never going to grow if you're just constantly comfortable. Like I said, like I had loads of like really cool opportunities last year with these big brands. Like I took a massive like kind of boot camp type style class with a brand called Bone Tea, and that was really cool. Again, couldn't believe that they'd asked me to do that. But see, on the lead up to these kind of events, I am sick. Like, I think of every worst scenario that could happen, and then see when it happens, I'm like, why did I like spend like 5 days stressing about this? Yeah. Like but I feel like if I didn't, something would have gone wrong.
So you're just preempting it anyway?
I think that's my problem. I preempt it, and I just think of the worst case scenario. Right. So that when that doesn't happen, I'm like, oh, that went well. And that's probably not a great headspace.
It's hard to get out of, though.
Yeah.
It's hard to get out of. So what's the worst case scenario that has came worst case scenario? And you've went, Jesus.
Oh God, I don't know. Let me think. Obviously getting COVID on film and gym, that wasn't ideal. And I think at that point as well, I was like, I wish I trained more. But obviously with COVID and stuff like that, like you couldn't really prepare for anything. No. I think that's been the kind of thing the whole like last 2-3 years of everyone's life. You can't prepare because you don't really know what's going to happen. No. I'm trying to think of anything that's happened. If it comes to me, I'll tell you. But right now, I can't think off the top of my head what's happened. I feel like everything's been okay.
Well, that's good though.
I know.
What was the biggest challenge for you, see, going to your own unit and starting from kind of scratch? And as you've said, you were worried about not having that kind of business background. What was the biggest challenge for you at that point to getting everything open and up and running and getting customers in?
I think, first of all, getting out my head, because I was like, I've already done the hard part. I've built a client base. Yeah. I moved to the other side of the city, so I probably lost a lot of people. Not a lot, but I lost a good chunk of people that couldn't travel to the other side. But then going in, and I think like I am very much like I've got OCD, I need to be prepared. Yeah. So I was writing out all my classes and stuff before, so I was very prepared in that sense. But I think running a business, like there's so many things to it. Your accounts, like working out what you make, like, you know, all these types of things that I'm not great at. Yeah. That's stuff I struggled with at school as well. Like I'm not great at kind of, I'd say maybe delegating. Yeah. I'm like, I was like fine by myself. But then I got to a point where I was like doing every single class by myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I'm going to need to start getting people on board.
Yeah.
So then you're like, no, I can't start hiring staff. Like, what? Like, me hire staff? Are you joking? So I would like start kind of reaching out to some girls, and everyone I've had has been amazing. Like, they're so lovely and they're kind of on the same wavelength as me. I'm really easy Rosie, like when it comes to stuff like that. So I had a massive help, and like during COVID and after COVID, when the gym started opening up again, like my health has honestly been like this. Like, and I felt like if I didn't have those girls helping me out, I wouldn't have managed to stay open. So I think it's like everything, and I suppose everyone that starts up a business probably thinks the same thing. Like, what do I do now? Like, and that's the hardest part. I think, like making sure you're doing it right. Yeah. But like being okay with making mistakes as well. Yeah. But yeah, I've still got so much to learn. Yeah. So much to learn. And that's like, I'm surrounded by a lot of business people. So I like to pick their brains and stuff like that about different things. But my thing as well is as soon as I'm like, okay, that's like kind of running smoothly, I'm like, right, what's next? Yeah. Because I need something to get me excited again, which again, I have something coming next year, which I'm excited about. And I feel like it'll probably take my business to the next level. Yeah. But yeah, I'm not saying what that is yet.
What about, I know you said there that you spoke to a lot of people in business for different bits and bobs. Have you ever had any kind of good bits of advice that have stuck with you?
I think like people always kind of say the same thing, especially if they've been in businesses for a long time. Like, again, mistakes are going to be made. Yeah. And you need to just be okay with that. Like, you need to not beat yourself up about it. I think being prepared, like, for all these different outcomes that could happen, asking for help, something I didn't do for about 2 years of my business. Yeah. I was running myself into the ground and doing all the classes, doing 6 a.m. classes until 6 p.m. classes. And what use are you to like you're coming, like your clients are coming in and you're like yawning and you're knackered and like you're not great at your job if you're absolutely done in by the end of the day. So that's when I had to start being like, okay, I need to start delegating.
Was there a tipping point for you when you just got to like, I can't do this?
I think when everyone was like, Amy, how are you still doing like 22 classes a week? And I'm like, I don't know. I was like running on adrenaline, I think. And then I think because as well, my business name, I don't even remember coming up with that either, to be honest. But when Body by Amy, right, my name's in it. So I also think people would have not really particularly wanted to like work for a business that my name's it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So I was a wee bit like, oh God, maybe I should change the name. Then I was going through a full thing of like rebranding. And then when I would like say to people, they'd be like, no, don't rebrand. What are you rebranding for? Your brand's great. That's what people know you for. And it's true. Like, I honestly, nobody calls me Amy. Nobody. Everyone calls me Body by Amy. So I feel like I'm stuck with it now. And I'm like, shit, how am I getting away from that? So I need to like, I don't want to lose that because it's what's got me to where I am now. But I think I'll keep it with me. But whatever I do next, I'll not maybe tie my name in as such. Yeah. Just because, again, it opens a lot more doors and it welcomes more people in. And I think guys in particular don't want to work for a gym that's called Body by Amy. You know, it's more feminine based. Yeah. And my gym never was intended to just be girls. At the start, there was girls brought their boyfriends and stuff, you know. So there was a lot of people, there was like a total mix, obviously more girls than guys. Yeah. Then eventually it just dwindled and it was just girls. Yeah. So now, like, I've had like messages of girls being like, can I bring my boyfriend or my brother or my cousin? And I'm like, yeah, of course. But I think because obviously it's just been girls for the last however long, I think that's where I'm like, I need to get a new brand and like make it so it's like really diverse and like open to everyone, because I don't want to just be predominantly women.
Yeah. No, that's a fair point. What about, see when you were at school, what did you want to do? What did you want to do when you left school? I'm always curious as to what people wanted to do.
Do you know, right, I like, I'm obsessed and I love babies.
Right.
Love, like, I'm like, everyone will tell you that. Like, I love it. So I was like, I would have happily have been a nanny.
Right.
Like, honestly, would have. Then I was like, oh, what about a midwife? But I fainted blood and getting my blood taken. So that was like, you're definitely not being a midwife or anything like that. I don't, do you know, it's so weird. I feel like I kind of like blocked out a lot of school. I didn't particularly enjoy it. I've still got my friends and stuff from school, but it wasn't until 6th year that I got diagnosed with dyspraxia. I struggled all throughout school with like exams and studying, and I wasn't academic at all. And when my mom would always say, like, you know, parents' night, like, just like she needs more help or whatever. And it wasn't until 6th year that they diagnosed me with dyspraxia, which is basically a learning difficulty, like with memory. And I'll never forget this. I rewrote out my whole biology textbook trying to study. Then I got to the exam and I like opened the exam paper and I went, my mind just went blank. And I had no coping tools or nothing to help kind of like bring it back. And then that doesn't make you feel good. Like, I've walked out, not even wrote anything. Like, you know, like, and that was like a recurring theme in school for me. So I feel like I just didn't do well at school. So I don't really think back to it, you know? But yeah, I think if I wasn't doing what I was doing now, I would definitely try and be in the, I don't know. I actually really wanted to be like a nursery teacher or something as well. I just love like babies. All my friends are having babies just now, and I'm just like, can I come over and hug them? Just love them. So that's literally like, I think that would be my other job. But I can't think of anything else that I'd like set out to be. Which I know is probably weird for a lot of people, because I think a lot of people at school like kind of know, well, that's what they've picked their hires for, to go to a specific type of job. I just didn't have that.
It's interesting though, because a few people I've had on have said that same thing about exams and that whole.
Oh, really?
It's fine sitting in a subject for X amount of years, but sitting there for an hour and having to write all the answers down in your same for job interviews. For people,
of course.
Your head just goes. And then you come out and you're like, how did it go? Don't have a fucking clue.
No idea. I know. And that is literally how it is for me. Like, I like all those exams and stuff, couldn't tell you what I wrote or anything like that. I have no idea. But I think that it would really, I think I've just blocked it out, to be honest. Didn't do well. Therefore, I don't really want to like remember it. And that's why I think like so many people are always like, can't believe, well, there's something for you. When I was at school, I hated PE. Hated it. I would try and get out of it as much as I could. We had to do hockey. Hated it. Like, and see now, like, I was thinking about it the other day and I was like, I wish, like, I actually tried, like, at PE and stuff. I don't think many people like PE at school, unless you were really good at the sport that you were told to do. I just didn't enjoy it. Like, and to think now that I've done a full, like, turn on and been like, oh, I'd literally do exercise as a job.
You must have teachers that look now and go, fucking, I remember her for PE.
Do you know what's so weird? Because during COVID again, I got asked to do like online workouts for my school.
Right.
And I'm like thinking to myself, like, they must be like, is that the same girl that was like getting letters? I'd always, Mum, really, please, something, just write a letter and just so I can give it in. I just hated it. But now I'm like, see, if I'd stuck at that, I could have been absolutely wrecked by the time I got to PE, to PTing. But I think it's probably, I probably enjoy it now more. I think for me being a PT is, and I say this to the girls all the time, like, you know, there's so many different types of PTs obviously out there, and some are going to really drill into you that you need to track your calories and and that's very true. If you've got a specific goal in mind, you have to be a bit more stricter with yourself. But if it's more of like a lifestyle change and, you know, doing it for your kind of mental health, like I run boot camps, like at the last week of mine just now, like girls, I'd started it was like a 3-month one, and then we'd get to the end of it and it would be like, okay, I think we're going to add another 4 weeks onto this one. And I think this last one there's just been on for like 5 months. I've just kept extending it. And I thought, take it to the end of the year. And they've all said like it's just helped so many things that they didn't think it would help, like their sleep. Like people don't realise like exercise helps your sleep massively. And then you've got like people being more aware of what they're eating, drinking, and just moving, like honestly, like, and that's why I became a PT, because I realised very quickly, like when I was exercising, when I was leaving, I was like, I'm like, I feel better today. And you can totally tell, like my boyfriend's like, I can tell the days that you've trained and you've not, because my mood is like that.
Oh, it changes.
My mood changes. So like not being well the last week with this flu, I'm not so I feel shit. And it's hard as well to be like, no, you need to rest, because as I said, I would tell my clients, rest until you're feeling better, because you're just going to make yourself worse. So it's taking your own advice,
which is always a wee bit harder, isn't it, than dishing it out. But it must be good for you in the sense of you must get a lot of people that come in and they're in that position you were in, of wondering about a gym, they don't know what to do, they don't know where to start, and you see them 12 weeks down the line and it's like a different
it's so good. I love it. That's like the girls just now, like, any boot camp that I've done, you know, I see the before and after pictures and I'm like, that's incredible, like what you've done. A lot of people don't like doing before pictures, and a lot of people don't like you posting their pictures. So it's quite good to, like, you know, you always have to reiterate, these aren't going to be posted or anything until, like, unless you're okay with it. But to have that, like, conversation with them where they're like, I can't believe the difference in my body from doing, like, sticking to this for 3 months. And I always say to them, like, you don't have to come back here. Like, as long as you've got the tools, and like from this boot camp, you've got the tools to then have the confidence to go to the gym by yourself after this. That's like my job done. Like if I can, like, because I remember how it felt when I walked into the gym, and it's not nice. Like if you're seeing other people exercising and knowing what they're doing, and you're standing there and going, oh, I should do that.
Destroying.
It is. And that's why I always say, like, that's why I did, like, why I do my job, because I want people to be confident, because I just know what it can do for your mental health. And with everything that's going on just now, you're just seeing more and more people, like, suicide rates are so high. And obviously exercise isn't the answer to everything, but you know, I just remember how I was feeling then, and I just know that how much that improved me a little bit. And the more I got into it and the more I did it, I realized, God, this has helped me more so than anything. It's just getting out, even just going a 30-minute walk. My mindset totally changes. And that's why I always train in the morning. I've kind of got into a routine now where I can train in the afternoon, but the evening's a no-go for me. By the evening, I'm like, oh, sorry.
Drained by that point.
I'm on the couch watching The Real Housewives. I'm like, no, sorry. So I could see people are like, I can't believe people get up at that time in the morning. Like, I'm posting my videos at 6 in the morning, and they're like, I can't believe people do that. And I'm like, but that sets them up for the day, and it'll help them massively, like making decisions. Like, it clears your head so much, but that won't work for everyone. So that's why you've got people that train in the evening. But I'm like, I drove past a gym last night. I think it was like 10:30 at night. There's people in the gym. I'm like, how do they do it? But like, obviously everyone's got different lifestyles. So it's just what works for you.
100%. I go on my lunch. But I like it because, like you touched on it there, I think sometimes it just clears your head.
Totally.
So even if it's, you've not had the best workout or whatever, but you've just went in and done it, you just feel good.
Good for it.
When you come out and you're like, do you know what, my head's a wee bit clearer now. And as much as, you obviously want to be consistent with it, that feeling alone is worth it.
100%. And then it's like, that's like what you should kind of, I always say to people, like, don't set yourself these big outrageous goals at the start. Like, right, hi Amy, I'm here because I want to be absolutely shredded in 9 days. It's like, okay, well, that's...
Do you get that?
I mean, 9 days is a joke, right? But no, to be honest, actually, at the start I probably did, but I think people are probably now more so being like, I just want to feel better. Like COVID, you're sitting on your arse literally for two years. Nobody really did anything.
No.
And people just want to feel better and feel good within themselves. So I think that, like, now maybe no, I'm not saying everyone, but maybe people's goals have changed. And, you know, there's obviously if you've got a holiday coming up, like summer bod, everyone always says it. I love training in the winter. And like last winter, I was going on my runs and stuff like that. And then this winter, I think it's because I find it more challenging. Like, I mean, running outside when it was like -8 outside, I was like, what am I'm mental. Like, what am I doing? But like when I finished it, I'd be like, I feel absolutely great. You feel like you've accomplished something. So it's just like getting, like when you get your client coming in, just finding out what their goals are and just kind of, they might not want to track their calories. And a lot of people don't. I used to think when I first started, like everyone would be like I thought everyone must track calories, but that can also cause a lot of issues as well. So people can become obsessed with it. Then it can cause eating disorders. And then you've got them in this like vicious cycle. I became like, I've done everything. So I've done every fad you can imagine before I became a PT. Remember doing the C9 cleanse. And that was like, you're having to do aloe vera shots and all that, like, and it was awful. But you weren't eating, so obviously you were going to lose weight. And it's like I've literally done all of them. Then you get into, obviously when you start training, your calorie counting. Everyone's done 1,200 calories because an app tells you to do so. Again, you're going to lose weight on that because it's a ridiculous. You can't live off that either. No,
it's not sustainable.
No. So, and I remember, like, I'd done all that 1,200 calories and I was a stick and I was like, I had no energy. I felt crap. And you then eventually realise, like, the best I've felt is when I've been weight training and eating, like, in a surplus. Like, I didn't feel great. Like, I felt bigger. Like, but then when I look back at pictures now, I'm like, what was I talking about? And that always happens. I think everyone gets like that. You're training, you're eating loads and you're like, this isn't working, I look huge. You feel bigger because you're eating more, you feel more full, you know. And then like you look back at pictures and you're just like,
because it's, when you look at your own body though, you don't see differences, like, and you're like, your partner will say, oh, you look as though you've lost weight, and you're like, where?
I know.
You just don't notice it.
There's also like body dysmorphia is 100% a thing. My doctor told me like years ago that I had it, and it's weird going into like a job like this and being like telling people that they look great and stuff like that, but you don't feel it yourself. I've always found that the hardest part. I think that's probably something again that I would need to work on is like my self-confidence, like, because I know that once I get to a point where I'm like confident, I will do better in my job. Because I always say that to girls, like, you look great, you've lost weight, you feel better than yourself. Are you sleeping better? Are you eating better? Are you making better choices? Then you're winning. You don't need to be a size 0, and which is what the media portrays. That's why Instagram is I have such a love-hate relationship with Instagram, because I just feel like if you're feeling shit and you go on Instagram and you're scrolling through and you're seeing girls that are...
Dangerous place. It's a dangerous place.
And I think like I came off Instagram, then I went back on it. I say I came off it, I stopped posting because I was going on it and I was just getting myself all like worked up about like, I think as well, when I was unwell, I couldn't train. And I was like watching people train and it was making me annoyed. I was getting angry because I couldn't do it. And I was like, I need to come off this because it's not good for my mental health. And you see all these things of like people say like the kind of like people committing suicide over comments and things like that on Instagram, Facebook, etc. It's such a dangerous place. Like I've looked through people's pictures and the comments on it, and I'm like, this is like who's writing this? And it's so dangerous. But it's also, that's why I have a love-hate relationship, because it's got me to where I am now. So I need to like thank it for that. But
then you're using it in a positive, and you're trying to use it in a positive light. But it is like, I've got a 13-year-old daughter, and it terrifies me.
Yeah, I can imagine.
When you look at like, I'll check her phone, and I'm like, what are you looking at, man? Because obviously, I don't know the mind of a young girl, but you're always going to compare yourself to 100%. People, and you're always going to rack you're never going to feel good about yourself when you're looking at all these kind of re-imaged things.
Everything's edited. Yeah. Like, and that was, I think, was it someone had said it to me or something, and it was a phrase, and it was like, comparison is the thief of joy.
Yeah.
Is that it? Yeah, that's right on. And I was like, God, I can't relate to that more. Because as soon as I start comparing, I'm like, I feel like sad.
Yeah.
And you beat yourself up about it. And I can't even begin to imagine. I think when I was like 13 and stuff, we didn't have Instagram.
Yeah.
So thank God.
I know.
But like, I feel sorry for that age group now. I mean, everyone's on their phone at school, and I can't even imagine how much pressure that is on a young girl as well.
Insane.
Because it's so much for someone my age. So never mind someone half my age.
I know, and that's the kind of, for that age group now, that's the normal, because they've all got it and they're all on it, and it's some buzz.
I can imagine. But I'm hoping that things will start to change, and surely these like laws are going to get put in place where it has to, because it's so sad how many people I'm seeing like commit suicide. I'm not saying it's down to like comments on Instagram, but you know, like I'm imagining that most people are reading comments like that on themselves, like you've seen celebrities and stuff. It must be such a horrible place, like, to be in. Being in the public eye, and like people just feel like they can say anything to you or about you, and you're not going to get any repercussions for that. And
that's the thing as well. It's people say don't take the comments to heart, but it's very different, because it's like a dagger if you're sitting reading through it, and then bang, there you go, and you're out of 200, that's the one that's rent free in your head for the rest of the night.
Literally, I was saying that a couple of weeks ago. Like, I was reading like reviews and stuff like that on my gym, and it was all 5 stars. One person left 3 or something, and it like stuck with me. Like, I mean, it wasn't like 1 star; it was like 3. They never wrote why or anything, right? But
that's worse.
I know, and I was just, and it's anonymous, so I don't even know who it was. But I was just like, why? And then I start racking my brains, and I'm like, I'm a shit PT. That's it. I'm like, but I'm not looking at the other like 100 people that have said 5. You really stick with the negatives, and that's just a thing you got to try and change your mindset.
Yeah, it's so hard. 2022 then. What have been the good and bad points of this year?
2022. I'm trying to think back to January now. What did I do? It was good. First half was good. Second half was crap.
Right.
First half went like, I think the business was good. I had like loads of boot camps running. I was like buzzing, and then I went on holiday, which was amazing. I went to America, and I went on like a trip that I was like dying to go on. It was like a bucket list trip, and then I got back, and then I just felt really unwell, and that's been from June, July. I just feel like I've just gone like this. Like I'll go like this, then I'll go up, and then I'll go down, and then I just feel like I've got no immune system at the moment. So the hardest part for me was not being able to go to work. Being like not being able to train. And I like remember just like kind of like sitting in the hospital, like, and like thinking I was getting out that day. And then they'd be like, no, you're staying in. And I'm like, shit, I need to find somebody to cover a class. And that was like another stress. And then like, to be fair, all the girls that come to my studio are amazing. They're so lovely and understanding. And they were like, hey mate, we're actually grateful you're not putting a class on tonight. We don't want to do it. Like, can you just relax? But like, it probably made me worse, because I was like, I didn't have anything in place, because I was totally blindsided and I had nothing in place. Didn't really have staff to like take control of the situation or anything. So I was like, I'm going to have to close the gym. But I had people step in, people offer to help and stuff. So, you know, I was lucky in that sense, and I am lucky. And I need to always remember that I've been very like lucky in the sense of I've had girls I can rely on, and like people have always offered to help me out. And not think about the negative things. So like towards this latter half of the year, like I started thinking I want to do something different. I obviously want to expand, but something different, which is next year. I want to like start doing more with the deaf community as well. I think that's one thing that I'm really beating myself up about, is like the last 6 months or so, like my head's not been in it.
Yeah.
And that's like bad for me running a business. I feel like I can't snap out of it.
Yeah.
So I'm really using like 2023 as like fresh start and just trying to like get my head down, do it properly. And I'm excited for it. I actually want Christmas out of the way, if I'm being honest. I'm like, right, I'm done.
Yeah.
And I'm usually, I love the run up to Christmas. Don't particularly enjoy, I always think like New Year and stuff's a bit of an anticlimax.
Yeah, same.
Like everyone's always like buzzing for New Year. But then when you actually ask people, you're like, oh, you buzzing? They're like, I hate New Year. Like,
just go to bed.
Like it's, and you don't really want to like go out and it's just, ugh. So I think for me in the next, like after this year, so like the next year, I'm like, this is my year.
Right.
Please. I'm putting it into the universe. I'm like, please let this be my year. Just with different things happening, I'm excited about it. So I'm hoping that it will be my year.
When will anybody get to know about these things that are potentially happening next year?
Actually, like I'm really bad. I have told people. And to be honest, it's pretty much out there. Like I've like told the girls and stuff. I'm just I'm like, I don't want to like tempt fate or anything like that. If I say it on here and then it doesn't happen, I'm like, oh. So I'm like, I have told people.
Right.
And to be honest, people probably know like maybe next month.
Right, okay.
Yeah, I know I'm saying it as if it's a big secret. I've told everyone. I just don't want to put it on here yet. I feel like it's more official if I say it on here.
But then if it doesn't suit you, then you keep it to yourself. Then it just means that in your head it's still a positive thing as well. Yeah.
No, I'm excited. So
I don't want to blame if you say it on here, then it doesn't happen.
That's I'm not going to say it. But yeah, people do know. It's just like something different for me. I mean, I'm saying different. It's the same.
Yeah.
It's just different.
Right. Okay.
But I am excited, and I think
feeling better about next year. Yeah.
I just like this year. I just feel like everyone's always saying like, why have you get such bad luck? And I'm like, I don't know, what have I done to deserve this? Like, I just want to feel better.
Yeah.
Get into training again, like properly. There's like loads of competitions coming up in the next like few months, and I can't even do them because I'm not trained for them.
Yeah.
And I hate that as well because that's something I'd be right up for.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, you know what? This is what's happened this year. Just deal with it, and then next year, fresh start, and just start looking at like the next thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited for that.
Brilliant. I wanted to ask you. I watched the pod you done with Kieran, and I'd read a couple of articles that you'd done as well, and you were talking about growing up, and obviously your mum and dad were deaf, and you struggled with that as a kid, and it was kind of hard for you. How did they feel about what you've done and what you've built? And because I know you were talking about that whole kind of imposter syndrome, how do they view it?
I don't know if you've seen the video that I did with BBC Sport, and my dad. I was interviewing with my dad,
right?
And I was like interpreting for my dad as well. But then my dad started telling me how proud he was, and I was like signing it. But at the same time, I was like, I'm going to start crying. I'm going to start crying because you're like, I know my mum and dad are proud, and I know they are, and I think they also are like amazed because of how different I am from when I was a child. Like I said that in Kieran's podcast, like parents' night, like I would just be like dreading it because you're at a school where, again, I felt a wee bit like an outcast.
People jump on different.
Yeah. And I think my mum would obviously come, like my mum and dad, and then interpreters, people would just be staring or whatever. Yeah. But that's the same wherever I go. Like, I feel like it's seeing this year, a great thing that's come out of this year is when Rose on Strictly, she was deaf. Yeah. And I feel like that has like made people so much more aware. I was talking to a girl that works for the deaf charity that I'm about to work with, and she was saying, I'm sure, I don't know if this is right, but like after she was on that Rose was on Strictly, searches for like to learn BSL went up by like 400% or something mental. But I'd obviously been doing like BSL like all like in my videos and stuff in the lead up to that. And I was like, I really, really hope this like makes people learn sign language, because I've been in like shops with my mum when a cashier's like signed like thank you.
Yeah.
And my mum's like so happy.
Small
like,
thing.
It's the smallest thing. And I can't,
Aye.
like, I worked in a shop where if a deaf person came in, I would start signing and they'd be like so happy.
Yeah.
And it's like, imagine like, and I think more so now, I'm like putting myself in my mum and dad's position or any deaf person's position. I'm like, imagine you couldn't hear. And I like walk along the street and I'm like imagine you couldn't hear. Like, I actually don't like walking with my AirPods in because I get like, I'm a bit like, oh God. And I get a bit worried at night, like at night. And I'm like, that's their permanent, like that's it. That's their life. And it makes me so sad that it's got to this point where it's like, it was like British Sign Language wasn't like wasn't a recognised language until I think this year.
Which is insane.
Well, yeah, because people were doing it. Like, that's how it was my first language when I was a baby.
See, I find it insane that it's not part of a school curriculum.
So do I. And my mum, when I was at school, my mum had said, because as I said, I wasn't academic. I couldn't pick up anything. Like, I was trying to do French and Spanish. I couldn't do it. Mum was like, is there any way that Amy could go and be qualified? Like, I'd go to college and do like sign language, and that way I would like at least get a qualification in it. So I was there it is. I was gonna do interpreting, like at school. But that's like a lengthy process of to become an interpreter. But they said no. And my mum said, I just don't understand why it's not taught in schools. Yeah. I think maybe now, I don't know if it is or not, but I feel like I hear more people saying, oh, my kid's learning sign language at school just now. So I hope that it does become part of it, because you're instantly isolating a huge group of people who just live totally normal lives. Yeah. But literally like going into shops and stuff, can't communicate with someone. Like if they go into supermarket, they can't go and ask someone, where is this? Well, they could. They'd need to text it on their phone, type it on their phone or whatever.
It's not a basic conversation. Yeah. No.
And I just really, really, really hope that it does become something like part of a curriculum at school, because there's going to be more and more deaf people coming into the world, you know? And I think we need to stop it from making more people isolated. And it, like, that's part of my goal as well, is to really try and get more people learning sign language.
Well, this is what I was going to ask you, because obviously this will go out in the new year. So everybody loves a new year resolution.
Oh, yes.
So if you were looking at learning sign language, what are some kind of one or two basic ones that you could pick up right away that, as you say, making that small gesture would make a massive difference to somebody from your point of view? So what ones do you think it would be easy for someone to pick up and use if they were then looking to go and do it?
Okay, so, well, hello is very simple. So you got hello. Yep. How are you? Thank you.
Yep.
Please. Trying to think of like basic stuff that you could say to someone in a shop. Hello, how are you? Thank you, please. Then you could do my name, but then that would mean you need to go through the alphabet. So, but my name is Amy.
Okay.
But you can, like, they teach the alphabet. I'm so sure, like, everyone actually, that is one thing everyone always says to me, like, I know the alphabet, because I think a lot of people learned it at school. Yeah. So you can spell your name out. But honestly, like, there's so much online. Yeah. There's so many courses. Like, I'll even, like, when this goes out, I can even, like, ask the charity that I'm with. They were doing loads of BSL courses for free. Yeah. Or like a really small donation. Yeah. To learn basic sign language. Like, loads of my clients actually started learning it in COVID, and it made me so happy, because they would send me videos of them doing it, and I would show my mum, and she'd be like, no, just tell them to change this wee bit and stuff. And it like, I loved that, because it made my mum feel great as well, thinking like your clients have actually gone to the effort to like learn sign language. Yeah. It's not easy. No. And also like my sign language will be different from like an interpreter's sign language, because my sign language is like been like brought up at home, so quite a lot of stuff might be slang. So like everyone, like I've been asked to do, ever since all my stuff went out, I've been asked to interpret for so many things, really cool things. And I'm like, I can't do it because I'm not a qualified interpreter. Which makes me think I should just go and get qualified, but it's like 4 or 5 years in the making. That's a long time to take out. But yeah, it could.
Next year's going to be the start of something.
Exactly. Might as well just throw myself into it. But I think if people like, there's such a shortage on interpreters as well. If people are thinking about doing it, do it because you like it's a new language, which is an incredible thing. There's a shortage, so you'll be helping that problem out. And I think it's just making it'll just make the world a bit better. You know, like you're doing a job that's helping someone else. But that's my mom. I said to my mum, that's another thing that came in with like the imposter syndrome. I was supposed to be like filming loads of videos of like workouts and stuff with sign language, and because my sign language is like slang or might not be like the proper correct. I was like, I can't do it. And I actually spoke with it's a charity called Deaf Action. I'm doing stuff with them next year. And I told the girl, I was like, listen, this is my issue. And she was like, do not worry. Because my, like what I'm called in like the deaf world is like CODA. So child of deaf adults. And if you, people understand if your sign language is from like having deaf parents.
Like home talk.
Home talk, exactly. So like I'm not signing like the proper signs because a lot of things like you wouldn't sign like small words like as. Or like my name, you would go as, and I used to do that. My mum's like, you don't need to do that. So, you know, I think I almost second guess myself sometimes, even when I'm communicating with someone that's not my mum or dad, but I'm talking to them in sign language or signing. I second guess myself a lot with it. So it's just getting out my head. And I tell mum's like, you're fine. And I'm like, I don't know. Like even the interviews that I did with my dad, I was just like, honestly, I worry myself sick about it because I don't want to do anyone a disservice. I don't want to like.
In case somebody jumps on it and be like, aye, no, I know what you mean. Right, so let's finish on how good is next year going to be for you?
I'm going to say it's going to be
amazing.
I hope so. I really do. I'm excited about the new things. I know I've said that about 30 times now, but I am. I just hope that everything goes smoothly. And just like, I think being kinder to myself. I think a lot of people need to do that in the new year. Be kinder to yourself because we've not had an easy time.
No, agreed.
And I think people just need to start looking after themselves, obviously physically, but more so mentally. And that's literally what, as I said, I do exercise for, is like just looking after your mind. More so than anything. Because everything will seem so bad in the moment. If you're feeling really shit, everything will seem so bad. It's like nothing could be worse. But see, if you like take that minute, like step back and just be like, okay, and this is what I've like started doing is like take a step back and just be like, okay, what is it that's like really stressing you out here? Is it going to kill you? Like, is anyone going to be hurt at this present moment? No. So like just take a step back and realize that you can fix it. It might take a bit of time, but ask for help as well if you need to, and don't talk about your feelings. Don't keep it in. I'm very open, like everyone. I'm such an open book. Like I tell everyone about my problems and what's going on in my head. But there's days where I'm like, oh God, and I like you just want to sit on the couch and you can have those days, obviously, and I have those days a lot, but sometimes they make you feel worse. And it's good to talk to your friends and talk to your family and get whatever it is that's worrying you out. Because as soon as you start speaking about it, you go, oh, it's not as bad as what I thought it was.
Problem shared and all that.
Yes, correct.
Brilliant. Well, I hope it all goes well.
Thank
you.
And
we've no jinxed it by talking about it.
No.
So
I've not mentioned that at all.
Thank you so much. It's been brilliant.
Thank you so much for having me.
Amazing.
Thank you.